good afternoon, and welcome to the June edition of Qliq University. This session is titled User Upgrade, going from user to super user. We're going to go over several things today. I'm going to go ahead and start displaying our presentation here, and we'll get started. So just the basic housekeeping that we always start with. We have a lot of people joining us today. This is actually our session that has had the most registrants so far. So welcome to everyone who has attended a Qliq University session previously, and welcome to those of you who are attending for the first time. As always, the line will be muted during the presentation just to keep any kind of feedback or anything to a minimum. And as we go along, we'll be showing all different types of information about the application. None of this is a sales pitch. It's all about allowing you to be the best Qliq user you can be. Your respective organizations have made an investment in this product, and we want to make sure that you know how to use it efficiently. So we're going to cover a couple of different things in class today. The hidden gem features, these are things that people tend not to know about initially. They start utilizing the application, and then somewhere along the line somebody points out one of these features and they go, oh man, I would have liked to have used that or known about that from the beginning. 90% of them are free features that everybody can use, and I've included one that's a paid feature, so just so that if you are utilizing that feature, you can begin taking advantage of it and understanding it, but not feel like everything you've learned from the session today, you've got to pay another fee or pay a something to actually utilize it. So only one paid feature is actually shown in the session today. And then we will go into a couple of use cases, 2 specific use cases, and provide you access to get more information on those as well. And then the last thing that we're going to look at, aside from the optional homework that you'll be getting at the end, is becoming a problem solver. So we do find that one of the best ways to become an efficient super user, Qliq user, is to actually implement it to solve a problem in your organization. So we're going to talk a little bit about becoming a problem solver and developing your own Qliq initiatives. So we think everyone who is a user of Qliq is super, obviously, but there's a difference between being super and being bitten by a radioactive spider type of super. And we hope that you walk away from the session today understanding a little bit more about those features that are at your disposal that will make you a little bit more of a super user as opposed to just a bystander in the application who occasionally may respond to a message. So that's your opportunity to grow here, is really learning a little bit more about the hidden gems in the program, and then learning a little bit more about how to use the program to do something unique in your organization. So some of those hidden gems that we're going to talk about over the next 25 minutes or so are quick messages, away message forwarding, image sharing, broadcasting, favorites, personal groups, our one paid feature, which is Qliq assisted calling, and then also uploading to the Qliq store. That last one, uploading to the Qliq store, there is a prerequisite to that, and that is that your organization has to utilize the Qliq store, but I'll cover that. It's a free service, but not everyone takes advantage of it. So I'll cover that when we get to the portion on uploading to the Qliq store as well. And then we're going to look at doing something new with the program, which is becoming a problem solver and seeing it in action in a couple of different use cases. Now, you may think that you have seen all these things before. I know what quick messages are. I know what personal groups are. But we're also going to talk about a couple of the best practices associated with each of those features. So it should be useful to everyone regardless of if you've heard of it before or not. All right. So the first one as we get started here is quick messages. The how and why of quick messages. Quick messages are little default messages that are provided to you by default from your organization. You'll have a list when you're in the application and you're in the screen where you construct a text conversation. There's a little button that says quick messages. You can click on that and the list you see will be unique to you and your organization. But what some people don't know is that you can also customize this at the user level. So whatever you have pushed to you from your organization, you can actually go in there and further develop them to be more specific to your needs. Anything that you're saying redundantly, repetitively, or the same way every time really should be constructed as a quick message, just to give you that efficiency and the standardization. Now, the best practice examples I have on the right here, these come from actual customers. I built them into my quick messages so I could get a little screenshot for you. But these are some of the ones that we've seen get utilized over and over and over by the customers who created them. So the first is just, are you available for a consult on? You would click that, put that in your chat, and then finish the sentence. Are you available for a consult on Miss Smith in room 207? She has a new diagnosis of CHF. Whatever the case may be, for filling in the remainder of that sentence, this particular customer uses it as a way to trigger their consult process. A lot of EMRs really fall short where consults are concerned. Certainly you can put in an order for a consult, but very rarely does that flow downstream to the appropriate providers who may or may not be on the EMR. It could be a specialist that's outside of your organization, and it's almost always followed up with a phone call. So what this particular customer has done is they've gotten all of their specialists, their referring providers, and a bunch of different physicians on board with Qliq, and anytime there is a consult requested, they're still putting in their order because you still need an order for consult on record, but they're also following that up with a Qliq to initiate that conversation and begin sharing patient information like x-rays and impressions from diagnostic imaging reports and different things. So that consult workflow is a great best practice that we've seen for quick messages. Another is just the follow-up on results. When the results are in, call me back for an order on patient so-and-so. So you'd fill that blank in. But that's really been useful for one of our West Coast customers that was having some difficulty once they would put in a result for, or put in an order, for example, for a transesophageal echo, a TEE. That took a day to schedule that procedure and align all the appropriate resources to get it done. And so those ordering providers were having to chase down those results, constantly log back into the EMR and look for a result, look at their fax machine to see if anything comes through. So instead, what they implemented was just a workflow where they would send this particular Qliq to the nurse manager of a particular unit, and that way it was on everyone's radar. It also took it off of their whiteboard workflow in the nurse's station, so they no longer had to put TEE next to the patient name and remember and remind every nurse at handoff that that particular patient result needed to be communicated quickly, because it's a rule out situation and that provider needs to know so they can quickly get this discharge done and decrease the length of stay. So the Qliq workflow worked excellent for them. Please send me a copy of the H&P for billing. That's been really useful for an anesthesia group that we support, and they utilize that obviously for their own internal billing, but they're external to the facilities that they practice, so they're their own entity and they don't have access to getting that finalized copy of the H&P from the referring or ordering physician's practice or office. So once everything was done, they simply implemented a workflow where they would click this to the medical records department. They had a designee in that office, so they would say, please send me a copy of the H&P for billing, and then they would fill in the patient account number and name, and that streamlined their workflow tremendously. Medical records would just respond with an attached document, and they could download that directly in their offices. Streamlining that discharge process, making sure that everyone is on the same page that this patient's going to be discharged tomorrow. That's the plan. You might not have an order for it yet. One of our facilities was experiencing an issue where initially they'd put in the order for discharge and they'd say, you know, the plan is to do this tomorrow, but that started an internal clock that the order went in, and now they've got 6 hours as their goal to get the discharge done, but really it was an order for tomorrow, and it was making it look like the discharges were being held up, and there was a lot of finger pointing and things. So they developed this process of communicating the discharge plan between the physicians and nurses using Qliq. There's also customers that are using Qliq for codes, so they've built their quick messages to include code information. And then one of my favorites here that I'll talk to, and this will be the last one, is this auto response. So we had a particular physician group or customer that was really physician heavy in their users, and nurses and physical therapists and office staff would click the provider about a particular patient, and the provider would look at it and go, yeah, that's not my patient, and would not respond. And that would trigger a series of, hey, did you get my message? Hey, I see you read my message. Hey, are you going to respond to me on this? And the providers wanted a quick way to just be able to say, you've contacted me about a patient that I'm no longer caring for. I'm not the responsible physician. I'm either out of the office or whatever the case may be. So we created a quick message for that. And they simply get those messages for patients they're not responsible for. Click quick message, click this button, hit send. So in 3 clicks, they have deferred the responsibility. And it points the sender of the message back to the medical record to look at the active list of providers and choose the correct attending. So that was just a really good use case that we found for quick messages as well. Away forwarding, that's another hidden gem. A lot of people know about the presence status. You know that you can go online, you know that you can go into do not disturb mode, you know you can set yourself to away. Maybe you even know that you can customize your away message as shown here. But what many people don't really realize, or it takes them a while to realize, is that you can also forward your messages while you're away. So the best use case we have for this, whenever one physician or one clinician will go off, maybe they go on leave, maternity leave, FMLA, vacation, or they're just done rounding for that week, they'll just log out of Qliq, right, and turn their phone off and go to the beach, do what they got to do. And then there's all this activity swirling around trying to reach that individual. So what you can actually do instead is set your presence to away, put a message in like this provider has, that Dr. Jackson is providing coverage for our group until such and such date, and my messages will be forwarded to him. And then you simply select a designee and hit save, and voila, all of your messages in your absence are going to go to the person who is actually providing support in your absence. So that's another great way to make sure that the continuity of care is there, to make sure that everyone is communicating on the same page, not having to hunt you down, not having to text your personal phone to find you, and it really just keeps everything succinct. Another feature we implemented just this year in the last quarter, maybe quarter and a half, is metrics surrounding these present statuses. So now the admins for our customers, the administrators of your groups, can actually see what percentage of time people spend in online status, in do not disturb mode, in away mode. So updating your present status and keeping that accurate is more important than ever, and using the away message forwarding is a great way to do that. Image sharing. I could speak about image sharing all day. There's a bazillion user cases, obviously. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so if you can just snap an image of it and send it off, then that's obviously better than having to type a bunch of stuff. But one of the things that really makes image sharing using Qliq stand out is that our HIPAA camera allows all of your images to remain within the application. So most certainly you can construct a message and you can attach a picture out of your phone's gallery if you wish. But what's better, gives you more real-time security, is using the camera icon on your attachments in the app. You just go to your message construction screen, like you're typing your message out, click on the paperclip, which is your universal symbol for attachments. Click on that, then click on the camera icon, and that launches HIPAA camera. With HIPAA camera, you take the picture, it attaches it to the message, you hit send, and at no time does that picture ever go to your device's gallery. One of the real reasons for that is those device galleries are often linked to streaming services or backup clouds, and we really want to keep our work and personal photos separate. The Joint Commission does require that we treat images the same way we would any PHI. So all of these images that are going to be shared back and forth through Qliq go through our same security architecture. So whether you're doing wound staging, or it's post-cath and you think your patient may be developing a femoral hematoma and you want to send the cardiac surgeon a shot of that, you want to send somebody an incision site and say, how does this look? Test results, anything that you want to send with a picture, you can be done. And I've just recreated an actual patient example here where the nurses use the HIPAA camera to send the surgeons pictures of incisions on post-op day 2. Post-op day 1, very little tends to happen with those incisions. Things start to seem fresh and clear, but by post-op day 2, problems that are going to arise tend to start to kind of peek through. So during their post-op day 2 process, they will go ahead and take a picture of that incision, send it to the surgeon, even before they've come to do their rounds, and they can begin developing a plan around that. Another great feature is broadcasting. Now, broadcasting, I will let you know that is something that is controlled by the administrators, whether you have the right to do it or not. So if it's not a feature you've seen before, or you go to try to click on a subgroup and send a message, and the only option you get is group message, and you don't see broadcast as an option, that's because the administrator for your group has that turned off, either at the subgroup level or at the individual level. So if it's something you really have strong feelings for needing to use, I would suggest you contact your administrator and they can sort that out for you. But broadcasting is a great way to communicate things like practice changes, alerts, codes. Our administrators use it a lot to communicate to the groups as a whole. We had one just day before yesterday. We had one that forwarded to me an example where they used a broadcast message to communicate that their electronic medical record had gone down, and they needed all staff to initiate downtime procedures. And then some subsequent technology that they used, some other applications also went down. They had a server farm issue, so they continued to use Qliq to communicate to everyone about these outages, just to say, hey, we understand that this is down. Please don't feel like you need to call the help desk about this. We will send an update when this is up. And being that it's done as a broadcast, they can send that message out one time to 100 people, and 90 people might respond to that, but only the original sender will see those replies. So it really keeps things from getting out of hand, from ballooning into this kind of group text feel where people are saying, remove me from the conversation, or I hate all these replies and alerts and things, and it really minimizes notification fatigue. So it's a great way to send communications that you don't need collaboration on, you just need to send information. And this example to the right is one that I recreated from one of our actual customers that uses the broadcasts to communicate practice changes to the medical groups, be it the nurses, the physicians, anybody that's affected by that practice change. So in this case, they had a change to their nursing SDMO for Foley catheter removal on post-op day 2. They already did all of the work to update their order sets and get everything aligned from an electronic medical record standpoint, and they needed a way to send the information to the clinicians with a link where they could learn more, but a trackable way. Historically, they would communicate this kind of stuff on their website, their internal portal, or in email, but there was no way to know who actually read it, who paid attention, who saw it. And they tried to kind of solve that with some checkoff labs, and we've all been drugged into those, I don't know how many times, where you just have to go into this room and listen to somebody talk about, we're going to be utilizing this new XYZ, and now you need to sign a form saying that you've heard this. So instead, they implemented a practice where their practice changes were communicated via Qliq. There is discrete data on the backside for all of these messages that tells them who opened the message, who read the message, and they can track it that way. And so their practice kind of implemented that and had much greater success and participation and just general awareness of those practice changes. All right, the next one seems obvious, it's favorites, but I will tell you it's an incredibly underutilized feature. Internally, we have metrics around what gets used and what doesn't get used, and we find favorites is just one of those things that is rarely used. So we like to point it out. People that do utilize it are more efficient in the application, and you can see here an announcement made by Oakview Hospital just encouraging them to add new employees to their favorites. So key roles within the organization should probably be in your favorite list. And you simply add to your favorite list by going to your contacts and favorites and clicking on the edit button. Then you could scroll through your user list, select and deselect as you want, and build that list of favorites out. So what this particular organization does, as they have new people in those key roles, so for example, Jamie Velo, their new risk manager, was added to the organization, and they sent out in their newsletter, hey, everybody add Jamie Velo to your Qliq favorites so that if you have a fall, if you have a concern, if you have anything that needs to be reported to risk management, you can contact her quickly. You don't have to try to remember who is in risk management. You don't have to scroll through your contacts and read everybody's job titles. You have a process in place where you're adding key organizational people to a list that you can access easily in the future. Another way to kind of replicate that or do something similar is with personal groups. So you could decide to take those favorites and turn them into a personal group. Again, very underutilized feature, but extremely useful. It is one-sided, meaning that the personal group I create is on my device. It's my group. Not everyone in my organization sees it. Even the people that are part of the group don't have this group in their list, but I now have a way to quickly and efficiently access those individuals. So for example, we have some staff that utilize personal groups to replicate those roles and organizational groups in their company. So they have, somebody has gone into their personal groups and created a new personal group and called it problem solvers. And in there they have added somebody from IT, somebody from HR, somebody from risk management, all of these different key organizational players, so that if they need to, they can quickly just go there and access those individuals. It's a way to categorize people, but it's also a way to send them a message as a group. Another example, we have a customer that uses this for ad hoc outages. So they are a senior IT leader. They created themselves a personal group that has just the specific people that they like to get involved during a particular type of outage. They called it My Outages, added all those people to the group, and now they can quickly go to their personal group and create a message with those individuals. So groups or subgroups are controlled at the administrative level. So historically, to get a subgroup created, you'd have to go to your admin and say, hey, we need a group for EVS. Everyone in EVS should have a group where we can communicate back and forth. And the admin may have said, you know what, we've already got 600 subgroups. I don't feel like managing another one. Or we already have a subgroup that kind of does that. And you were really limited by their willingness to create the subgroup of your desire. And now with personal groups, you aren't limited to that. So you can actually go in and create the groups that you feel like you need. You can name them accordingly and do everything that you need to do to have access to those individuals in the future. All right. Qliq assisted calling. This is the paid feature I referenced. So certainly if it's something that's not active at your organization and you feel like it should be, you can speak to your administrators. It's a nominal annual fee, very, very low for considering what it provides you. But many people actually have Qliq assisted calls activated at their facility and don't even realize it. So when you're in the application, if somebody texts you, as you can see in this example, a patient phone number or any phone number, and you want to call them from the app, but you don't want your personal cellular number revealed to them, then that's a good time to use Qliq assisted calling. You just click on the number that's been texted to you and choose Qliq assisted. So if you get to this point, you choose Qliq assisted and it says it's not active, that's how you know it's not turned on your organization. But like I said, many people have it and don't even realize that they have it. So give it a try, see if it's active at your organization, and if it's not, you can certainly reach out to me for more information or your administrator. But you would simply click on Qliq assisted, and then it's going to dial that user and present to them a phone number that your organization has set up. So for example, it could be the main line at your practice, it could be the scheduling department's phone number, whatever phone number is designated there, and that way whenever they pick up on their caller ID, it does not display your phone number. This is great for clinical staff that are in the field and hospice and home health that are making a lot of patient touch points. It's great for our physician-heavy practices where the providers are utilizing Qliq a lot and they don't want to call people from the application because they don't want to reveal their phone number. And just because you have Qliq assisted doesn't mean you can't make a direct call. You actually have both options available to you there. So really a great underutilized resource that many of you probably already have and just didn't know about. So give it a try, see if it's active at your organization, and if you need more information, let me know. And the last hidden gem feature here is uploading to the Qliq store. So the prerequisite to this is that your organization has to have Qliq Store active. Qliq Store is a free archive that we provide. They download it off of our website when they're logged into their admin dashboard. and it acts as a repository for message content. We as a vendor never have access to your information, but they may want to have access to it for various reasons, quality and other things. So if the Qliq store is active at your organization and you have a document, in this example, a care plan that has been sent to a nurse, and they want to upload that to the Qliq store to archive it, to be able to attach it to the medical record at some point, things like that, they can simply hit that share button and then upload to Qliq store, and it gives them that long-term archival and easy retrieval later. Some of our customers actually use this when they're taking pictures of time cards, when they are taking pictures of work orders and things like that. They upload it to the Qliq store, and then there's a process in place on the back end where those uploads write directly to a document storage file. So it's a great way to actually get signed content to a specific location or designation without a lot of steps by the end user. So if you have Qliq Store turned on your organization and you want more information about how to utilize Qliq Store better, just let me know or reach out to your admin and kind of figure out the different ways we can unleash the power of the archive for you. The next little bit of our presentation here, and I know we're running tight on time, so I'm a fast talker and I'll try to be even faster, is problem solving. So the best way to become a super user in your organization is to identify an issue. Most issues have communication somewhere wrapped in them, if not the core of the problem. So identify the problem, ideate what could be the cause and the possible solutions, evaluate, execute, re-examine. In healthcare, we're very used to this, although we sometimes use the PDCA process. So you can do the same thing, plan, do, check, act. You can get together a group of stakeholders in your organization to figure out, what is the bottleneck coming out of the emergency room? What is the problem with room turnover? What are the different organizational and business challenges? It doesn't have to be clinical in nature, but what's a problem I can solve? Many of you are in your postgraduate studies or writing papers for school on different projects that you've been a part of. This is an excellent opportunity to have something to write on. I've had customers contact me before and say, hey, I'm doing my thesis on this and I'm going to use Qliq, and will you help me? And we absolutely will. We love to partner with you on things like that. So if you think of a problem you could solve, you want to involve Qliq, we call it a Qliq initiative. I'm going to give you more information about that at the closing here. But before I close out, I want to point out two specific use cases where they did just that. One is a customer of ours that actually reduced their door to floor times by 30%. So those were patients coming in through the ER and they were sitting there for long periods of time as the ER stewardesses and clerks made tons of phone calls to try to see if there's a room ready, is there a nurse assigned to that room, is it the appropriate level of care? All of these different things required phone calls to a myriad of people, and that process was really eating up time. So by implementing a group conversation process with Qliq that had all the appropriate parties involved and targeting their access services in the ER department, they were actually able to reduce that door to floor time by 30%, and a great benefit to that, patient and staff satisfaction increased as a result. So I can send you this exact use case. Just reach out to me after the class today. And the second one I want to talk to you about is a use case where they actually had their own custom software. It's an EEG company that it monitors patient brainwave activity and looks for anomalies, and it notifies or escalates to a neuroradiologist in real time as those things are discovered. And they use Qliq for that notification. They also use Qliq to identify who's on call or who's responsible for the neuroradiology portion of that workflow. So it's really helped them streamline everything. And by using an API integration with their custom software, they were able to automate those notifications. So as the software recognized a blip, a glitch, an artifact, something like that, it automatically captured a picture, sent it to that neuroradiologist, and that real person could look at it and say, you know what, yes, this is an actual issue, and now I'm gonna click the nurse that's at the bedside and tell them to do X, Y, and Z. Or they could look at it and say, you know what, this is just an artifact and we don't have any action that we need to take. So two problems that existed there that they were able to implement Qliq initiatives to solve and have turned into excellent use cases. Like I said, I have the full use case. If you want to read more about that, learn how you can implement the exact same thing in your organization, just reach out to me after the class. Everyone who's attended today, we have you on the attendee list, and you're going to receive an email early next week encouraging you to review the blog associated with today's session. Enroll in our next session in July, which is very exciting. It's all about preparing your practice with appropriate policies. And if you can say that 3 times fast, I'll buy you lunch. So come to that one mid-July as well. And like I said, early next week, you'll get an email thanking you, encouraging you to do these follow-ups, and providing you with an additional resource, a tip sheet on developing your own Qliq initiative in your organization. So I hope that all of this information today, really expanding on some of those hidden gem features, looking at how do we become problem solvers and how do we fix things in our organizations using an existing technology, not having to go out and buy something else. You're already paid for. Use Qliq to the best of its ability. Hopefully all of these things have helped you feel like you can go from being a user to a super user. And I really strongly encourage everyone, if you want to read the use case examples in more detail, if you want more advice on implementing your own initiatives, if you're writing a paper or have a project for school and you want to talk about a Qliq initiative or have a creative idea you want to share, please do reach out to me. I'm going to leave this screen up as we close today so you can jot down my email. Again, it's jolene.sheffield@QliqSOFT.com, and I hope that this has been as useful for you, as fun as it has been for me to speak on. I do hope I see everyone in the July session. Thank you for attending today, and we'll go ahead and close this session, and I look forward to all of the emails and requests for use cases that are sure to follow, and you be watching your email inbox next week for follow-up from today's class. Thank you all, and have a wonderful Friday.